In June 2025, I decided that I'd had enough of waiting. I have 220 acres of Northern Ontario wilderness that I want to turn into my dream homestead. I realized that the only way to achieve my goals is by getting off the couch and building them, no matter what the cost. Join me as I plan and build my future, turning my apocalypse into a Zen Armageddon. Hey there, my name's Chris, and welcome back to the acreage. This has been quite a week for the channel. I imagine most of you watching this now are relatively new, so welcome. Pleased to have you here, and definitely a huge thanks to everybody that liked and commented on the last video. That really helped it grow, and I'll tell you, it's a huge boost of confidence that what I'm doing isn't totally insane, and people want to watch it. So a lot of this week was just dealing with all the comments. It was also a pretty rainy week. I did get a fair bit done. My main goal this week was to pause and take things back with the dog trot a little bit, because originally I was just trying to get a feel for how everything was working, how the cuts were working, how the logs were fitting together, and it wasn't doing anything to make it stable. And by stable, I mean screwed together. And I mentioned last week that my goal this week was to take it down and rebuild it, screwing it back together, and that's exactly what I did. The screws worked really well, and I took the time to make the foundation a little bit better. So what I mean by that is I spent some time clearing off the little bit of soil that was on top. I was worried that there might be like 6 or 7 inches. Turns out there was like maybe 1 inch. So that cleared off really easily. And I put down some birch bark just to provide a little bit of a barrier between the rock and the logs. I should also call out my friend Carl again for giving me some pieces of steel that I could turn into log dogs. They're not perfect because the bend that's in them is a little bit round, so it's really hard to knock them in, and the point's really not sharp enough. But I'll fiddle with that as time goes on. I used the grinder to put the point on them. Carl had bent them for me before he gave them to me, so I didn't have to try and deal with that without having any kind of a handy anvil. But they definitely help. Keeps the log from rolling around while I'm up there. and then put it back together. And I managed to get another couple sets on before it really started to rain. So I'm pretty happy about that. This week also was take your kid to work week for my son's school. And while I don't have a traditional job, he's expressed a lot of interest in the whole YouTube shtick. So we spent the day going over different parts of the channel. So most of the rain was in the morning. I showed him what editing is all about, how you use DaVinci Resolve, and choices that you make, so you can get a sense of what's actually involved in slicing together a channel like this. Then after that, we went to the big box lumber store and we bought some stovepipe. My original intent was to finish the stove yesterday while he was here, but it was raining too hard. And the one window that we had, I wanted to give him some actually hands-on experience sort of doing this, so I got him to spend some time peeling a log and see how he liked it. And surprisingly, he actually did like it. So yesterday I put that log across here. It was a small diameter and I'm not really that worried about that, but this log and that last one that I pulled up are maple, and holy crap are they heavy compared to either the poplar or the spruce. So I don't want to have to lift them too much. I put this one up here because I thought it was going to be one of the heavier ones, so I was going to replace that one, and then that last one is easily twice as heavy as this one. So I'm going to put that one up. That'll be the back one, then this one will be the next one up. So I don't have to, well, a part of me kind of want to make maple be the bridge across. Anyway, I'll decide that later. It's not really a big deal now. But the big thing is I want to avoid lifting the stupidly heavy one any higher than I have to. Obviously, I'm going to have some sort of a lifting mechanism at some point. But for now, I've just got my my flabby biceps and my back, so lower is better. As I'm building the dog trot, I am learning a lot in the sense that I'm trying to rush, but at the same time, I'm also taking the time to look at each notch that I do and how can I do it better. And it's getting faster, I'm getting more accurate, and given the fact that this is a throwaway structure, I'm definitely getting what I want out of it. Now that I'm this high, and now that these logs are so heavy, I want to take a little bit more care in how I'm doing it. So I know that this side is lower than that side, so I'm measuring approximately just a ballpark 2 inches on this end on both sides, and then I want to mark it. The problem is that the Sharpie doesn't work worth a dingle on logs that are wet like this, and it's supposed to start raining pretty hard in 10 minutes or so, so that's just going to get worse from here. So I got done today what I wanted to get done, but if I were just to wing it, move it back, this is so heavy and it's hard to maneuver. And now I'm also starting to get really high with the saw, which is even more dangerous. So I just want to do it right. So I'll come back tomorrow, and hopefully it'll be, well, according to the forecast, it'll be dry tomorrow. And I can get that done. So once I get this one done, obviously I have to do each set. I want to come up at least that high, so that's like what, three more, maybe 4. I'm okay if on the one end, because the ground slopes up there, I'm okay if the roof is kind of low there, because I can just basically put shelving in and store stuff there and have myself like a little workbench here, because the ground is much lower, so I can get away with less height. So that way the roof is sloping this way, and I'm going to keep it sloping down towards the fireplace down below. Well, couldn't have timed that any better. I came out here just to show off the cool dark versus light, and I get a rainbow. That's lovely. I was expecting rain. I was not expecting that. Wow. It's not going up as fast as I would like it to, because, well, there's a forecast for snow just north of here, and time is running out. This morning it was actually quite cold. All the puddles were freezing over and stuff like that, so that's just another sign that that winter is coming. It is partway through November, and I mean, really, we could get snow anytime. Whether or not that snow sticks around, I guess the season will tell us that, but I'm hoping that it's, you know, relatively light on the snow until at least December. As an update on the gate thief, I'm happy to say that now it's been a week since I caught her doing her thing, and nothing has happened. She hasn't been back. She hasn't done anything. The gate has remained unmolested, and I haven't seen a single human on the game cameras. So that, other than myself, obviously, but that's exactly what I was hoping to happen. Through the comments in the last video, a lot of people were really concerned about the fact that I didn't involve the police, or I didn't make it abundantly clear how things needed to play out going forward, and concerned about the fact that once a thief, always a thief. And I mean, honestly, those are all legitimate concerns. That for all that, I understand how she came to the conclusion that I was an outsider, that I was doing something wrong, that she needed to, you know, fight back in the distorted, weird way that she was doing it. And I don't condone it in any way, but I understand it. And like I said in the last video, my goal was to give her justification in her head to say that, oh, yeah, he's actually not that bad. He's not a threat to the neighborhood, and then just leave it be. I mean, the reality is she was going for walks for no other reason than to mess with my gate. Damn it. And given the fact that I'm, generally speaking, coming in here around the time that she was messing around with stuff, I haven't seen her since. So it's entirely possible that she doesn't really walk that often. And the whole reason she was walking was to be able to mess with my gate. And so that's just not going to happen. She's not going to be out and about to do it again. And I mean, honestly, if she does do it again, I have the police report, I have the photos, I have the video of me confronting her where she admits to all sorts of things. And, well, the police can get involved and do what they need to do. And I'm willing to accept that, even though she did steal 2 of my gates. And I would really like the chain back, but for the $30 that it's worth, I don't think it's worth the added stress. So if I actually do bring in the police and they do an investigation and perhaps take her gun away, which she may see as part of her survival because that's how she hunts for food or whatever else, she could take umbrage and then decide that I am public enemy number 1, and the only way that I will get rid of her is through a restraining order or something more dramatic, like me having to sell the property and move. I have friends that have been in that situation, and that's what they had to do. They ended up having to move because court orders weren't doing anything and the police weren't doing anything, and they ultimately were afraid for their lives. I don't want to be there. And the way that it played out, she now has in her head, oh, well, I'm only having a gate up to protect the neighbors from getting stuck. And I didn't tell her to not hunt, period, just not hunt on my property, which, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm sure she recognizes that that's my right to do. And therefore, I'm no longer a threat. There's no reason to antagonize me. And if that holds true, good enough. Well, that absolutely sucked. Probably wouldn't have been so bad if I hadn't dropped it off the cliff, because that's one of the heaviest logs. Of course, that's the one I drop over. And I misscribed it. And now that I'm looking at it, I'm also not following my own lines, which is not helping. But it fits now. I don't want to associate with her. I don't want to be friendly with her. I don't want to offer her a cup of sugar. But if she can mind her own business and I can go about mine, I see no reason why that I need to escalate it any further than that.
So this log right here, this log sucked. And I got so focused on getting this one in. And part of the issue was that when I set the notches, I didn't pay attention to which way the two logs bowed. And they basically bowed into each other and everything was sitting, catching. Oh my God. What I should have done was realized what had happened and said, okay, fine, no problem, and put another log in its place, and this one went above it where I had more space and it would have been a non-issue. But consequently, I ate way more sawdust than I would have liked. And I am filthy. But as winter comes, the weather is changing. It is going to make it more difficult to do a lot of things, and I'm going to have to adapt a little bit. When I came in today, I mean, it was really slippery. We got a fair bit of rain yesterday, and now that it's freezing, you get freeze on the top, and then that freeze goes down, and then the sun comes out, shines on the mud. The top bit of mud melts, but the bottom is full of ice crystals, and it is super slick. And I've also got a little bit more puddles forming on the road now that hadn't been there all year. So I'm probably gonna have to spend some time next week just making sure that that drainage is working the way that it's supposed to, because the biggest problem is when water sits. Because when water sits, that's when it gets really muddy. And if I'm not careful, I'm gonna get stuck, which I'd rather not do. So this week, I definitely wanted to have a fire in my fireplace. It's been, man, is it 3 weeks since I mortared in the chimney pipes? I'm gonna light a fire in it right after I record this. Having a fire in something that I spent so much time building is a huge win. It is sort of like that moment of all of these pieces, the last 3 months of almost suffering that I've had out here trying to make a go of things. Everything is now coalescing into a moment where, yeah, I might actually be able to do this. I'm not totally insane.
Well, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'll give this fireplace a 5. I definitely need to get a piece of metal to keep the sticks from rolling out, um, because obviously as they get smaller, they tend to fall off. That should have been obvious, but also probably like a little bit of a screen for the snapping. And I also need to build the frame around the back to keep the heat from getting too much to the stone. I was looking at the sea cans earlier, and I've got a bunch of 16, 18, and 22 gauge steel that I can use to trim up. Before I left today, I couldn't find my shears, so I'll grab those next week. Um, but while this isn't a giant fireplace, it's not throwing out huge, crazy amounts of heat. Once this is closed in a little bit more and the wind can't just blow through, I think it's gonna be perfect. Exactly what I wanted. What I may do a little bit later on is just build a straight up ring of stone, so that way I can have a much larger fire when I need like crazy heat. But this is something that I wanted, so that way I could sort of be up close to it and enclosed versus having like a really hot, heavy fire. But I've been working towards this moment now for almost 5 months, where I could feel like I would have all the bits and pieces that, the channel was actually starting to grow, that I'd have a video that I could call a success, even though I wish I didn't have to deal with the gate thief. She provided me a bit of a gift insofar as algorithmic response. Um, but yeah, now I feel like I can actually do it. I'm almost monetized. I have a structure. I have a fireplace. And I just feel like I'm doing it right. Not necessarily well, but I'm doing it right. I'm just going to enjoy this for another hour or so, and then I'll have to head home. But really appreciate your being here. Like, subscribe, stay safe, and we'll see you next time.